Today is May 6th, and the last entry into my photography notebook for taking pictures was March 23rd. Now, I made a video. I found the video, and I recently made darkroom chemical prints. So I wanted to try out the digital printer. These are the pictures of March 2nd. 75mm lens was used. It was a dark, overcast day. It was the first time I'm trying to do exposures with it. So I used the light meter, and then I used the through the lens light meter, and I did 2 or 3 exposures of each house. I fixed them as best I could, editing in the provided program, and this is what I got. And I cropped out the bromide drag, which are dark streaks vertical from the top. And last night I made some prints of one negative, a 6x7. I used the Bessler 23C. This one was a straight print with the emulsion side up in the negative carrier, which as it turned out was backwards. So this is the second house on Hutchinson Street going down the hill on the right. This was 6 seconds. It was developed in D76 for 3 minutes, and then a minute or 2 in a vinegar stop bath, and then in a Codifix 1 to 7 for 10 minutes. It was eventually selenium toned for 5 minutes. So I turned the negative over, changed the time to 8 minutes. Now it's correctly oriented. And this was a little dark. All of these were selenium toned. This was 8 minutes. I changed it maybe 12 minutes, but I started dodging and burning. I got a red circle, and I had a little paintbrush with the bristles, and I stuck the circle in the bristles, and I held it over this spot. I may have dodged with my finger like that. And I used a sheet of paper, and I burned the sky like this, and I burned the ground like that, and I burned the right side like that. The time was changed to 15 minutes. This was dodged, and not so much here. That became too dark. But again, I pressed the 15 again, and I dodged the top. I didn't dodge it. I burned the top. Then another 15 seconds, burned the bottom. I burned the top 15 seconds like that. And I burned the bottom 15 seconds like that. I burned the right side 15 seconds like that. I burned corners and more on the sky. And then I did it even more. You can see this was dodged thoroughly, but this wasn't dodged quite enough. And I'm starting to see tone in the sky. So what I learned was that I should use filters to lower the contrast in the enlarger so that the sky will burn in. Also that the negative has the sky too dark, and I should use a yellow or orange filter. And maybe develop in not straight, but in diluted 1 to 2 or 1 to 3 to lower the contrast in the sky. And then this was selenium tone 7 minutes. So I put these in a plastic sleeve, and they're RC paper. It was a stock solution. And it took a long time, it took all night. I skipped dinner, and it was like 9:30, 10 o'clock by the time I got upstairs. And I was beat. It was like almost 5 hours, about an hour each. I did 2 tests on 4x5 with a little thing that flips up. And I determined that 1 second in the 5th test, or 5 seconds, wasn't enough, so I changed this to 1.2, and then that was 6 seconds, and that's where I started. This is the negative that I used. You can see how white the porch is, but there is a lot of detail in there, even though I drew Sharpie over it to mark it. It's a pretty high contrast. So a lesser exposure made everything very light, so that you can barely see any of the details. That's why I did not choose that one. That's the 3rd exposure, the darker one. This was the lightest one. This was in between. Now, it has almost enough detail, but it wasn't as much as that one. So if I did the top row, I'd do the darkest one. Again, I'd do the darkest one. This is the first 4x5 test made with the flipping doors. It's 1 second, 2 seconds, 3, 4, 5 seconds. And it was developed stock D76, 3 minutes. Now here it is, 1.2, 1.2, 1.2, totaling 6 seconds. Makes the porch look great for that kind of a light negative, 6 seconds. This is the paper safe, and in the dark I opened it up, and there were some 4x5 sheets on top already cut, and 8x10 sheets stacked inside. I have a new box of 8x10, and it feels full. It is open. I bought it December 18th, 2025. So this is what might be in there. I hope it is. Anyway, there wasn't any fogging from developing the film. So it may be. I do have a lot of old film in boxes, but I don't think I used it. Here is my dodging tool, and here's my dodging tool assembled. This is the negative carrier that I used. The paper easel looks like it'll hold 11 by 14. But this is set up right now for 8 by 10. And I think it's 1.5 lines short of 8. Yeah, a little bit short of 8. That must be a little bit short of 10. Yeah, there's the 10. I had it right about there, 1.5. That gives a very thin border. So it's really nice. Holds itself up. In the dark, I can feel where to put the paper in the middle one. The paper easel looks like it'll hold 11 by 14, but this is set up right now for 8 by 10. The top bar is for 14 inches. The middle one is for 10 inches. The bottom one is for 7 inches, or 5 by 7, 8 by 10, 11 by 14. Two and a quarter by 3 1/4, 12 high. It has a filter holder, but it wasn't used. And it was set for 15 seconds. And I would do it in like about 4 cycles to do all the burning. So I really need to open the lens a little more to do all the burning. But that's how this thing works. Here's the 8 by 10 paper, and I have a square made in it so that I could print 6 by 6 where I want it to be. But I use that with the focus finder. Now I use my eye without glasses, but you can see floaters and dust on your eyeball, but you learn to differentiate what is the grain in the picture by moving this around and finding a high contrast portion like a railing next to floorboards or bricks or something, and then you could adjust the focus with a big knob here. And it doesn't take much of this height, it just dials right in real quick. I have enough D76 to do this again and make a whole lot of prints. Household vinegar was used with water for a stop bath. And this stock fixer, which is half a bottle left, is used at 1 to 7 for 10 minutes to fix the prints. A water wash is used, and filtered water is used to rinse the print. And I do it like I wash the negatives. I do it 4 times. I put an inch or so of water in the pan, and I slosh it for 1 minute, pour it out, put some more in, slosh it for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, pour it out. Then a little bit of photo flow and a little more water for the final surfactant to make the dots go away. Now I have a window frame that I set up in the sink like so, and I wipe it off with a paper towel that's damp, and I wipe it off, and then I take the print and put it face down, and I hold a corner on the back with my finger and I squeegee it, and then I take the print off, peel it off, and I squeegee the glass, I turn the print over and put it base down, picture up, and I hold a corner and I squeegee it again. Then the print is put on this window screen. Then I do it again. When the prints were all done, I toned them. I did 5 minutes at 1 to 4, and then I figured this was used already, so I added more to make it more concentrated, and I eventually added all that I had, and the fumes were coming up and getting in my nose because my fan doesn't work right. And then I did 7 minutes. So everything was toned except those 2 little tests. And I couldn't see any difference. I think some of the very lightest areas became a little darker. At least I hope they did. Anyway, the selenium reacts with the silver and makes something that won't ever fade. So I started on Saturday. And negatives, darkroom prints of number 9 negative, 6x7. That's what was done. That's a couple months old. And after I did it, then I wrote notes. So after I did it, then I wrote down what I did. So May 1st, I made prints. And then I wrote an evaluation of the prints, how I made them, what I liked, what I didn't like. I kept writing. I had more ideas. I summarized the darkroom. I did a summary. I did an evaluation. And I finished today with a whole list of things of what I would do with photography, to improve the darkroom. And it ended up with, well, why don't you just make a video of what you just did? And that's what I just did. Here's the video. My wife recently vacated this work table, so I put the old printer from downstairs and the non-functioning laptop next to it. This works just fine for printing pictures, but it doesn't connect to the internet any longer because it's so old. I scanned the negative sheet from March 3rd that I printed number 9 from, and here's number 9. I took one of the scans at 2400 DPI, I think, a medium light one, not the darkest, not the lightest, but I totally desaturated it. I used this paper from Staples. It's basic photo paper, 53 pound, 8.5 by 11. Now it doesn't fit in the same plastic sleeves, but I got a plastic sleeve that's a little bigger that this paper does fit into. I tested this printer yesterday and I made a shot of the Borough Building, but it came out kind of sepia toned brown. So this negative was totally desaturated in the editor and I saved it again. But that was on the other computer, the other laptop. So that file was put on this thumb drive. That's what I printed. And it came out black and white, not brown. The black and white was not made from the color inks, I hope. So I solved that problem. But I just printed this standard. I just popped it in, printed it, and look at the results. They're better than the darkroom print. I hate to say it. It was certainly a lot easier, but there's plenty of detail in the porch, both porches. Look at the white edge. There's tone in the sky. even in this corner. Tone. And there's tone down here on the street. I didn't have to do any dodging and burning. It's sharp. I mean, you could count the bricks, you know. So it's an alternate way of making prints. I still like to work in the darkroom. I like to use my hands, but boy, is this easy.